And I've been asking myself questions like, what is the desired outcome from all of the protests? And is the desired outcome even realistic apart from the transformation of a human heart? I've been asking myself the questions, what does justice even look like in regards for the murder of George Floyd? Is it another death? Is it another killing? Another murder? Is it looting? Is it more violence? Or how about this question? What role does mercy play in all of this? I know my questions may not be popular because our natural response is to demand justice in the face of injustice. The third principle that I want to call your attention to this morning highlights the world's approach to injustice. The principle is this: the world's demand for justice, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, results in a never-ending cycle of injustice. It will never go away. But there is another approach to injustice. It's the approach that Paul and Silas took in Acts chapter 16. And the principle is this: the cycle of injustice can only be broken by extending mercy. Grace is messy. But the cycle can only be broken by extending mercy. You see, what Paul and Silas were doing in Acts chapter 16 was simply modeling their Savior's response to the most unjust insight into the unjust acts that transpired in Philippi. In verse 35 it says this: the next morning the city officials sent the police to tell the jailer, "Let these men go." So the jailer told Paul, "The city officials have said you and Silas are free to leave. Go in peace." But Paul replied, "They have publicly beaten us without a trial and put us in prison, and we are Roman citizens. So now they want us to leave secretly. Certainly not. Let them come themselves to release us." And when the police reported this, the city officials were alarmed to learn that Paul and Silas were Roman citizens. So they came to the jail and apologized to them. Then they brought them out and begged them to leave the city. And when Paul and Silas left the prison, they returned to the home of Lydia. There they met with the believers and encouraged them once more. Then they left town. You see, Luke makes it clear here that what was done to Paul and Silas was against the law. You see, the city officials violated the law when they ordered Paul and Silas to be beaten because they were, in fact, Roman citizens. I think Paul and Silas's response was appropriate here. Paul makes it known to the police that his rights as a Roman citizen had been violated. Before they leave town, they call attention to the city officials' unjust acts. But notice they didn't demand justice. They didn't demand an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. They didn't demand that the city officials be beaten with wooden rods as they had been beaten. Instead of meeting